Okay, so looking at some of the 2.3 problems here, now we're starting to calculate various measures of center and various measures of... And what I want to lean on here is to try to use as much as we can the calculator, because I know we do have the box up here and we can use StatCrunch at times, and if it's helpful I'll show you some of the StatCrunch features, but I want to kind of lean more so on using the calculator and the features that I showed you during our lectures. So remember, anytime we have raw data, a lot of times in this class we're going to lean on that same button. We're going to press the Stat button, and the very first thing we have to do is go to Stat and Edit. Okay, so we're going to have to take those numbers that they give us and we're going to have to enter them into the calculator. So I have 11, 10.7, 10.9. Okay, and then 10.2, 9.8, and 11 again. Okay, so 10.2, 9.8, and 11. Make sure I get those numbers right. And then another 11. One more 11 in there. Okay, if I get one number wrong, it's going to throw everything off. So you can hit second mode and quit and out of there. So now what I want, I've done Stat and Edit. The calculator now knows the numbers I'm dealing with, and we just go over to Calculate. Okay, and we're going to calculate the one variable statistics. If you have a list like this that says frequency list, just leave it blank. Okay. If not, if you didn't get a setup that looks like that, your screen probably looks something like this. One variable stats, and remember to tell it what list to use, you press second and the number 1 to get that L1 on your screen. Now when you press enter, I have my mean right here. X bar is the mean, 10.66 to 2 decimal places. Let's see how many decimal places they want. 1 decimal place. So to 1 decimal place, that would have been 10.7, I believe. I'll double check that. Yeah, to 1 decimal place, that's 10.7. Let me check our answer. Okay. Does the mean represent the center of the data? So certainly the mean or the median would be measures of center. The median is preferable if we have some outliers, but there's no reason to suspect that here. So the mean represents the center. What is the median score? So I can go right back to my calculator. And let's see if it'll allow me to scroll down here. Yep, there's the median. It's 10.9, and in fact I have all my 5-number summary, Q1, median, Q3, and then also the max. So the median there is 10.9. That's why I like that one variable stats button on my calculator. Oops. And the median does indeed represent the center, typical observation, and they're pretty close to each other there. A mean of 10.7, median 10.9. The mode of the scores, I think we did have a mode here. It seemed like 11 kept coming up very often, and remember the mode is just a number that occurs most often. Okay. So the mode, again, it's a number that occurs most often. Again, it is a measure of the center or a typical observation. Yeah, sorry about that. In this case, your mode is the largest number, so it's not going to be representative of the center of the data. Sorry about that. Okay, so jumping ahead here to number 14, we have a stem and leaf plot. And our key is that 30 equals 30. So the numbers that I have here, I'm going to have to translate these into my calculator. I have 6, 9, then I have 10, 14, 16, and 18. I have 21 twice. I have 22 3 times. So the first thing I'm going to do is take all those numbers. I'm going to go to Stat and Edit again. And I want to enter that whole list of numbers into my calculator. If I want to clear this list first, if I go up so that L1 is highlighted, so I arrowed up and get L1 highlighted, and now press clear, and now when I press enter I have an empty list. So I'm going to take all those numbers that I have on my assignment and enter them in my calculator now. Okay, so hopefully I didn't make any mistakes entering the numbers. There should be, it looks like my list, according to my list I have 28 numbers in my list, so hopefully there's 28 numbers on that stem and leaf. So to calculate the mean, again we're going to go to Stat, and this time we go to Calculate. And let's just do one variable stats in case they ask us for other things. And in later sections, they might want the standard deviation or the IQR. So here's my mean, 29.25. So to one decimal place, that's 29.3. Okay, that seems reasonable, so hopefully I didn't type anything in wrong. We'll find out in a second. Yay. Okay, so make sure you take your time typing the numbers in. That's a place where you could get one of those wrong. Does the mean represent the center of the data? Again, 29.3. I don't see, the data here looks like, if I turn this sideways, roughly symmetric. It seems like the mean is a reasonable measure of the center of that data. So 29.3. The median, we'll jump back to our calculator. 30.5. And so the median is 30.5, which is also pretty close to the mean. Decent measure of center. Okay. The median does indeed represent the center of the data. It's that middle number, or an average of two numbers. The mode, let's take a second and see if we have a mode here. It looks like 35 occurs 3 times and 22 occurs 3 times. I don't see anything that occurs more than 3 times, but since I have 2 of them, it does allow me to enter both of those, right? I can enter 22, he occurs 3 times, and 35 occurs 3 times, so I'll put both of those in as my mode. We're okay on that. Does the mode represent a typical data? So in this case, it is okay for us to say the mode is a typical data entry, right? It's not a max, it's not a min, it's 22 and 35 are kind of right in the middle there, so they are sort of typical. And if we average those two, we come out somewhere probably around the mean and the median as well. Okay, so I want to jump ahead to number 17 now. Okay, so what I want to look at here is I want to find the average daily balance. So I'm going to be dividing by number of days. So how many days do I have? Well, in April you have 30 days, but we can see here we have 23 plus 3 is 26. Okay, so we have 30 days total that we're going to divide by. So for 23 of those days, we had a balance of 578. For 3 of those days, we had a balance of 2393. And for 4 days, we had a balance of 291. So translating that into balance per day, 23 days, we were looking at 578. If I had a list of numbers, I'd see the number 578 occur 23 times. I'd see the number 2,393 occur 3 times, and so on. So this is my total number of days balances added up. I want to take that and divide by 30 to get the average daily balance. So it would be $721.23. Okay, let's jump to number 19. So we're going to take total points earned, total points earned divided by total points. So, or total credits rather. So the B and 2 4-credit classes, right? The B is worth 3 points, okay? So and it's in 2 different classes. So we're going to have a B that's worth 3 points, okay? Times 2 times that happened, times the 4 credits, okay? That's the first piece of this. Next, we have an A, which is worth 4 points in a 3-credit class. So we take 4 times 3. Okay. Then we have a D in a 2-credit class. A D is only worth 1 point. And then we had a C in 1 3-credit class, and the C is worth 2 points. So a C in a 3-credit class. So let's sum that up. We are at 44. So now I have to take this 44 and I have to divide it by the total number of credits that they have. So how many credits do they have? 2 4-credit classes, that's 8. Plus a 3-credit, that's 11, plus a 2-credit, plus another 3-credit, right? So we've got 8, and 3 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus another 3 is 16. So I'm going to take this 44 and divide by 16, and that would be their weighted GPA, a 2.75. Let's round to 1 decimal place, nearest 10. So sorry, that's a 2.8, not 2.75. Okay, 1 decimal place rounding there. Missed. Okay, and the last one I want to look at with you here is number 20. Okay, we want to find this weighted mean. So I'm going to show you, what I think is a little bit less labor-intensive way of doing this one. Now, notice they give us the answer here of 85.7. That's the weighted mean, but they're saying instead of an 87 on this final, they actually got an 81. So I'm going to take these two lists. Instead of doing this the long way, let's lean on the calculator a little bit here. There's one extra wrinkle that we'll do in our one variable stats. I want to clear out L1. I'm going to the top so it's highlighted and press clear. And now when I enter, I come down. So the very first thing I'm going to do is just take those two lists and enter them into L1 and L2 respectively. I'll show you what I mean. So let me just double back and check my numbers here. I had 83, 75, 192. Remember that 87 needs to be changed to an 81. Right? So I did that here. So I enter those numbers. So this second column, they could be percentages. I could make this 0.05, 0.35. As long as these add up to 100, we're going to be okay. 30 and 10 is 40, plus 20 is 60, plus another 35 and 5, it's 100%. We could make them decimals, but we'll be able to get away with this without making them decimals. So now I'm going to go to Stat and Calculate. I'm going to add one extra wrinkle here. Now if your calculator is like mine, it's going to ask you if you want to have a frequency list, and this time, indeed we do. I'm going to say that I have L2 as my frequency list if you're offered that option. If you're not, I'll show you in a second what this is going to look like, okay? So I hit Calculate. So if you weren't offered that option, if your calculator just says one variable stats and it just comes on the screen, then hit the second and the number 1 for L1. Then use your comma key right up above here, above the 7. A lot of people forget that and they get an error. And then second and the number 2 for L2. And this will tell the calculator, like, look, my numbers are in L1, but I want you to weight them according to L2. So what would that new average be? It's going to be an average of 83.9. Okay? Originally it was 85.7, and that seems reasonable. If this 87 changed to an 81, the overall average ought to go down.